Good morning, everyone. Am I audible? Can everyone hear me? Okay. So, yesterday we discussed about the evolution of industrial policy, and today we'll be discussing the very first industrial policy that was declared or launched. The policy was announced on 6th April 1948. Okay. India's first industrial policy. It is often seen that the government of all developed countries have a significant contribution in the development of industries. Okay, so every country tries to focus on its industries, tries to help its industries to grow. In the field of industrial training, search and investigation, and in gathering the necessary equipment and facilities for the industries, the government can directly or indirectly help in many ways. Okay, so industrial training is also a part of industrial development. Okay, training may be related to marketing assistance, it may be technical training, it may be training of the employees. Okay, or it may be sharing of experience, search and investigation, and in gathering the necessary equipment and facilities for the industry. The government can directly or indirectly help in many ways. Okay, apart from this, the government can also create a suitable environment in the country for saving, appropriation, and capital formation, and this government taxation policy has special importance. So, the government can help in various ways in the development of industries. So, it can either directly impact the development, and there are ways in which indirectly also the government helps the industries in progressing or growing. Okay, the one of the part of this policy is the taxation policy, which impacts the businesses a lot. Now we all know that every person in the country needs to pay some level of tax depending on their income. Okay, if the income is less, they do not pay taxes. If and as it increases, the percentage of tax also rises. Now, when we come to businesses, the corporate level of tax is higher than individual taxes. Okay, and even a slight change of taxation percentage impacts the every business in a huge way. Okay, apart from this, private sector can invest capital only in those industries which have immediate personal potential. But from the point of view of public industries, there are many such industries in the country. Okay, so private sector usually tries to invest in only profitable areas. Okay, they try to invest, or they try to enter such industries which have growth potential in them. Okay, but it is the responsibility of the government to focus on or contribute or invest in areas which are not doing as well, like we can say the handicraft industry. Before colonialization, we had a very well established handicraft industrial sector, but the Britishers tried to kill the handicraft industry, and then industries were and now after independence, since independence, um, the government has been trying to bring it up and to promote the handicraft sector. Now almost none of the private sector big industrial players try to enter into the handicraft industry. Okay, so handicraft industry is just an example. Okay, it is also necessary to develop in which the chances of profit are low. Okay, or the risk is high. The objective of the private sector is to earn maximum profit, while the development of public utility industries should be done by the government for the fulfillment of social objectives. Now, you may have studied the various types of economies that or economic structure that are followed by the government of any country, um, namely the capitalist economy, the socialist economy, and the mixed economy. You remember these things? You may have studied in class 12th, I think. So these three types of economies are based on various or on establishing various objectives. Okay, different objectives. A capitalist economy is an economy where most of or almost all of the businesses are owned and operated by the private sector. So, if everything is owned by the private sector, the prices and everything of even such services which are mandatory or essential for all the citizens to use will be very high, and a lot of a huge chunk of the population will not be able to use these services. Okay, but when we talk about socialist economy is absolutely the opposite of capitalist economy, in which um, almost all the businesses are owned by the government sector. Now, in our country, we focus on we use the mixed economy model, where some of the companies or some of the businesses are owned by private sector and some are owned by public sectors. The government reserves the right to own and operate certain industries or certain businesses. Okay, so that to protect the country or to safeguard the rights of people to use some products. Okay, like the railways are a monopoly sector that is owned by the government of India. No other private company is allowed to enter in that area or in that sector. Why? Because the government has made it a point that this mode of transportation should be accessible to every class of people. Okay, so there are people who travel in the first AC class, there are people who travel in the general class. Okay, then in a developing country, this work cannot be left to the private sector, and hence it becomes necessary for administration to take an active part in the development of industries and divide their work areas in such a way by clearly explaining the government and private sector. Goes so that both of them become complementary rather than competitive to each other, and thus can contribute to the economic development of the nation. So here what we tried to do was we tried to build a compatible structure in which the government or the public sector and the private sector can go hand in hand and work along with each other. Then, according to the industrial policy of 1948, there have been classifications of industries that have been listed. Under the industrial policy, all the industries were divided in the following four bases. First is class A. Industries of military and national importance were kept in it, such as construction, atomic power, rail traffic, and hogs. It was decided that these industries would work only from the government. That is, the responsibility of their establishment and development would be completely under the government's authority. Okay, so class A category consisted of all the sectors that were of national importance for the country's security, etc. The government decided to keep in their own hands and restrict the private sector from entering this field. Okay. Then class B, under this 6 industries were kept: iron and steel, coal, aircraft manufacturing, manufacture of mineral oil, and telephone and telecom and wireless equipment. It is decided that the industry of this category will be constructed in future, and the responsibility of development will rest with the state, but the factories which were already employed in the private sector in these industries will continue to function in the same way. Okay.
सेकेंड ईयर की चाहिए अपन जो प्रैक्टिकल लेते हैं तो बच्चों से नहीं तुम साइन कराती है
the question of their nationalization will not be considered for 10 years. After a period of 10 years, their position will be considered, and if necessary, they can be nationalized. So, these 6 industries were decided to be constructed in the future. They did not exist in the time at the time this industrial policy was created or announced. Now, there are still some of these sectors which have not been established in India, like aircraft manufacturing. There is no aircraft manufacturing company in India. The largest aircraft manufacturing company in the world is Airbus, and then there's Boeing. So most of the companies or aircraft carriers or airline companies, they purchase or usually lease their aircrafts from these companies. Okay. So the class B category consists of these industries. Then next we come to class C. This class includes some basic and some consumer industries of national importance. These will be the basic industries which are not included in category B. It was recognized as industries of national importance, and it was accepted that adequate technical knowledge and heavy capital investment would be required for them. Hence, their incorporation by the state in view of national interest necessary to arrange the control was understood. So, in the C category, also the huge industries or heavy industries were listed, but those which were not included in the class B category. Okay. Now, these type of industries required high technical knowledge and heavy investment. Okay, so these were not restricted to public ownership. And lastly, class D, the remaining industries were included in this category. So the class C category usually included all the industries that were not included in class B, and most of these industries would be under the public and private partnership. Okay, where private owners can also own these separately. Okay, but in class B category, class B would be an equal ownership, sort of an equal ownership in the beginning. Okay, for both private and public sector. The remaining industries were included in this category. These were completely secured for the private and corporate sectors, and to some extent arrangements were also made to give them directions by the state. Okay, so there are rules and regulations that have been set, but the class D category consisted of all the remaining industries and was exclusively for the private ownership sector. Then next we come to the second industrial policy that was introduced in 1956. Second industrial policy of India was done on 30th April 1956. After 8 years of the announcement of the first policy, what was the need to set a new industrial policy? Many reasons were given in this subject. Okay, according to a lot of people ask this question that when already an industrial policy was established, why did we need to create the second policy? So some of the reasons were, according to the government's statement, during these 8 years many changes have taken place in the country, and according to those changes it was necessary for the administration to make some amendments in the policy. The first industrial policy was formulated only 1 year after the independence, at a time when the country was plagued with many political and economic problems. Till that time, the clear framework of the future economic development of for the future economic development of independent India was not in front of the government. But in order to create a suitable environment for increasing industrial production, a policy was announced in a hurry, which now reforms according to the changed circumstances. It was deemed appropriate to do so. The government said, on asking why the second policy was created, they said that as in these 8 years a lot of the structure of the economy has changed in our country, hence there were requirements for amendments to be made in the first policy. Then there were some criticisms that followed this policy. What were they? Due to special importance given to the public sector, the policy has been termed as state capitalism. The private sector considered itself insecure. They believed that this policy was unfavorable to the private sector. So the private sector denied it or criticized it because they said it was not favorable to them. Then critics' opinion that the 1956 policy was not clear and uncorrected. Neglected the so critics also said that it was not clear. The policy of 1956 was not clear, neglected the practical aspects of the policy, okay, and gave more importance to the theoretical side. Then in the absence of competition, industrial production remained low, and management was also inefficient. Industries did not utilize their full potential. This was a serious problem, and a problem of sickness arose in the industrial sector. So, as there were very few number of competitors or firms in each industry, in most of the industries, it became difficult for them, or usually the uh, players or the businessmen, to survive in the industry. Okay, when there's no competition, the need to become better and better, or to lower the cost, to strive for survival, does not exist. Okay, and so they start earning losses, and ultimately they get into such condition that they have to close down. Inefficiency in public sector has led to deficit problems. So the public sector companies were not functioning well. They were doing the bare minimum, and hence no profit was generated, and a deficit was created, a huge deficit was created, and India had to suffer from it. Then the next amendment came in 1977. On 23rd December 1977, the Industries Minister of the Janata Dal government issued a declaration related to the industrial policy. Through this policy, a resolution to pay special attention to small and cottage industries was announced. A list of 180 items reserved for production by the small scale sector has been expanded, and more than 500 items have been included in it. Some other important points to this policy were as follows. Okay, so the biggest amendment that was made in 1977 was that the list for reserved item for production under small sector was increased from 180 to 500 items. Then, large private houses. This policy emphasized to stop monopolistic tendencies in the industrial sector and stop the economic power. For this, several policy decisions were taken, such as strict adherence to the monopoly law, preventing the existing industrial houses from entering new industries, emphasis on creation of internal means, etc. Okay, so large private houses dominated some of the industries, and were not able to run, or were not able to the other companies were not able to enter the industries. Okay, and this, because of this, a lot of other companies suffered. Okay, and there was a monopoly sort of.
एक्सक्यूज मी मैम
Yes,
मैम आपके साइड से बहुत आवाज आ रही है
बहुत आवाज आ रही है.
यस मैम
But actually, where I'm taking a class, there are a lot of people, so that's why. Okay. Can you hear me now? Is it better?
यस मैम
Okay. So what I was saying is that there was a sort of monopoly created by big business houses in some industries. Okay. What they did was they held the economic power in their hand, and did not allow a lot of other small industries to enter into various sectors. So that was the government took measures in order to decrease that economic power. Second, public sector. This sector was assigned a wider role than before. Now the work of this sector was not limited to only the product of basic goods, but the responsibility of regularizing the supply of essential consumer goods was also entrusted. So the public sector was also revived, and instead of doing the bare minimum, there were other roles that were introduced in the public sector, and the government tried to revive their industries by investing or stepping into more of consumer goods. Then thirdly, foreign investment. This policy announcement attempted to limit foreign investment. Only the entry of foreign investment and technology in priority sector was accepted. Efforts were made to have industrial development in the country only through indigenous technology. So foreign sector was also restricted to only a few industries, okay, so that we do not lose our profit margins, or the earnings of the country do not go to other countries, okay. So it was very important for our country to earn a sustainable profit margin in order to develop or deepen or strengthen the economic sector in our country. So foreign investments was restricted to few sectors only. Then reduction in regional disparities. To reduce regional disparity means differences, we can say. Priority was given to setting up industries in backward area and less populated places. There was a ban on granting licenses for setting up industries in urban areas. So earlier, people started setting up industries and factories within the cities, so that it was easier for them to get the basic infrastructure that they required for their businesses. But later on in this policy, the government restricted them to set up any kind of businesses in the urban areas, and most of the industries were asked to set up their businesses in the rural areas or the backward areas, so that we can promote a regional development, a balanced regional development. The areas that were not able to develop or get the basic amenities or facilities, in those areas, if industries were set up, as we discussed, they will get better facilities, etc. Then Sikh industries, emphasis was laid on running the Sikh industry properly. The policy said that such efforts should be made so that Sikh industries get proper treatment at the beginning of, and this problem could not take the form of industrial monopoly. Okay, so Sikh industries were, the government made it a point to help the Sikh industry. Sikh industry means industries that are earning. So Sikh industries were revived. The government made it a point that it should revive all the Sikh industries and help them in surviving in the industry. Then other provisions in this policy: participation of workers in industry, price policy to industrial products, their import-export access regarding small areas or tiny sectors, the district industrial center, etc. Also important decisions were taken regarding these things. Okay, so there were various changes that were made to import sector. Then establishment of tiny sector or micro industries. Micro industries are very, very small industries. You can say less than, we did discuss, I think, micro industries. I'll show you the diagram once again, so you'll get the idea. It was your class when we discussed the micro industries. Remember which. No, I think it was not your class. No problem. So micro industries is basically where the investment is less than 10 lakhs. Okay. So less than 10 lakhs is known as micro. Then more than 10 lakhs and less than 25 lakhs is medium. And no, it's small. And then more than 25 lakhs and I think 50 under 50 lakhs it is medium. Okay, so micro, small and medium enterprises. You may have heard about MSME. MSME is a department that has been set by the government in order to help these industries, micro, small and medium enterprises. Okay. So we'll stop here, and in the next class we'll discuss about the 1980 declaration. Okay. Please read through whatever we have studied today and create bullet points regarding the points that we covered in today's class. Okay, so that you don't you don't forget what we discussed in each of the points. Okay, write in your own words. Clear? And if there is any doubt